Good morning, everyone, and welcome to week two on strategy and modes of entry into foreign markets. So, first off, I want to give everyone a big congratulations on your introductions. They were fantastic. I replied to everyone individually to try to get a sense of the class, and everyone did a great job and it's full points. And same goes with the readings. Excellent job on your reading posts as well. And we are at work getting the grades posted, so everyone did wonderfully. So a couple of announcements. I'll be doing a video introduction each week with some important information, so please make sure that you watch these and listen to them. So some of the topics we have, first of all, we're starting our current events this week, and this is a chance for you to really explore almost any topic that you like that's related to international business, economics, and management. And what I would like for you to do is pick an event that's happening now that is related to receive full points. It should be somehow related to the week's topic, and it should have a global implication. So, in my view, almost any event can have a global implication. It really depends on your analysis. For example, some obvious ones would be things happening in other countries, right, which are sort of global by definition in this class. But it could be a US event. Obviously, US political and business events tend to impact others outside. Even talk about, we drove through what's unfortunately the second, I believe, fire already of this season up in Stanley. You could talk about how global trends, have influenced, have influenced more fires, right? As long as you take the global view to these things. So it gives you a really wide range. And of course, I like things like The Economist, but you can look at Financial Times or Wall Street Journal or CNN or CNBC, right? At MSNBC, there's lots and lots of sources that you can look at. Just do a Google News search on the topic if you don't have anything that springs to mind. And if more than one, please try to pick a unique event. But I understand people will often choose the same topic, especially if it's a hot topic for the week, and that's great, right? Just make sure you do your own analysis. So there's absolutely no problem with that, because as I said, things will happen over the next 6 weeks, which we cannot anticipate, and some of them I think a lot of people will have a lot of comments on. For example, the chaos right now in the Gaza Strip is something that started just since we began this class. So the next thing is we have our group sign up. So you'll be doing your group presentations, of course, in weeks 4 through 7. So I've just sent out a shared Google Sheet in which I would like this week for everyone to get in groups, and the group should be 5 or 4. If you can't find a fifth person, you have 20 minutes to present, which is not a long time, and you're not locked into a topic at this point. What I'd like you to do, I've been using this for a few years in a bunch of classes. You can use it right now to get your name into whatever week you would like to go and suggest a topic, right? Maybe there's a firm you're interested in. Maybe you're interested in, I don't know, La Croix or something, right? Or there is a country you're interested. Say you're interested in Costa Rica, right? You can put just that. If you have a specific topic that you definitely want to explore, please put that down, right? And this will allow you guys to sort of find what your mutual interests are. So you're not going to be locked into the topic that you actually present, but I would like people to be in groups, so everyone sort of knows when they're going by the end of this week. So, and then as I said in the announcement, um, please talk to myself and Anna and Annabelle for guidance on how to shape your topic. What I think, so the idea is to really solve this issue for an organization. So the more specific and the more you drill down to defining an issue, the better you're going to do. So you don't want to say, how does the world deal with COVID, right? That's far, far too broad. You might want to do something would be better about how is Coca-Cola reacting to COVID driven changes in Latin American supply chains, for example, right? That might be, that might be a little too specific, might be hard to find enough information, but that's definitely a problem that you can sink your teeth into and come up with relevant answers. I mean, so what you want to do is describe the issue and describe the actors, um, then describe what the problem is, and then describe the solution. So what I suggest to students is you really have to, in 20 minutes, is what you're saying really important to setting up the issue and solving the problem. I think what students tend to do sometimes is they spend far too much time talking about general background. Steve Jobs was a student and, wandered around India and, created all these products and had successes and failures before you get to the actual topic, which is how is Apple dealing with supply chain challenges in China post COVID, right? That maybe warrants a few seconds, but certainly not half of your presentation. So stay focused, and we're happy to help you on this. Next, we have your first quiz, and it's open book. And so I think if you read the chapters and Google a bit, you'll do fine. It's not too hard. So let's start talking about strategy. So strategy is one of my favorite topics. I've told you guys I worked in the past for McKinsey, which is generally regarded as the sort of grandfather and the best in global strategy consulting firms. McKinsey does other stuff, but when CEOs and boards and governments want to ask a deep strategic question, McKinsey is often the first stop. So I've had a lot of training in this, and it's something I've pursued throughout my career. I'm pleased to say on LinkedIn I get the most recommendations for strategy, followed by other things. Feel free to add me on your LinkedIn if you're not already using it. And strategy is really the sort of, I think, in my view, it's the starting point for anything you're doing in business or actually in life. So I like to define strategy as the idea of where you want to go, and tactics as being sort of a subset of strategy is what specific actions are you going to take to get there. And so we're also talking about market entry, which is something that I've done a lot of strategy and tactical consulting on, particularly in China, Japan, Taiwan, and East Asia, but also some globally. So there's a lot of different modes of how you can enter markets and expand your markets, which is one of the key goals of this class. So that's going to be sort of our overall theme. And a few notes on this. I think, many people, of course, mentioned COVID in your initial post, which, as I said, is the big elephant in the room still in our class and in the world in general. And I think that COVID has had a profound effect on organizational strategy globally. And whenever you have to change your strategy, it can be a very daunting task. But in my view, and we certainly tried to do this and got some praise, I think, from the higher ups about this recently, is of course, as I said, I manage the College of Business and Economics overall global relations, and that strategy is a key part of this. I spent a lot of time talking with the deans about, how should we do this? And COVID obviously put a hard stop to a lot of what we were doing, and it affected many organizations like this. But I think the smart players really took some of this downtime to think strategically about where we want to go, and then tactically about how can we get there, and what can we, how can we sort of use some of this downtime to rethink. And there's been a lot of writing in business press recently about how this is what the smart firms and organizations have been doing. And, as you probably know, if you've been involved in a strategy session, it's a lot of planning and brainstorming and creativity. But the next phase is more about getting down to brass tacks and tactics and implementing. And what I see coming in the world is the implementation of a lot of the strategies that the smarter organizations have put together to think about not just how to respond to COVID, but generally how can we use this as a way to change our organizations. I'll give you a quick example. I got a bit upset when we stopped in Chipotle the other day, which I enjoy. I hadn't been there in a while, and they're trying to push they're not doing face-to-face orders, which I understand, but they're insisting people download their app. And for me, I think this is a strategic blunder on their part. I mean, why not just do a drive-through? And Taco Bell, Chipotle offers a level of service, I think. And if they push people onto an app, then the question is, why aren't they Uber Eats? So there can be strategic errors, I think. But a lot of firms are really thinking about how to use this shift to online, not just to prevent COVID, but also to save all sorts of operating and fixed costs. And I think this is going to have a profound effect on the economy coming forward and the way things work. So the article I attach to the reading is a good article from this week's Economist, which you guys probably already know that I love and have written for in the past, about how smaller tech firms can compete with the giants. They're sometimes called the FANGs, which is Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, and the new one they put in this article also includes Microsoft. So these things are shifting, but how the smaller firms can compete. And COVID has given, Zoom is probably the best example of a firm that just exploded, and just, I think, really changed the way of doing business. But there's going to be a lot of changes. So, I mean, in strategy, some people who start to think about it do SWOT analysis, which the book talks about. You've probably heard strength, weakness, opportunity, threat, which is a basic starting point. The five forces, which the book talks about, is, I think, more sophisticated. It's a more dynamic model, but none of these are the end all be all of strategy. And you have to think that anyone who's gone to business school, particularly anyone who has an MBA, knows these things. So there's millions of people out there using these tools. So strategy has to be very creative, I think, because it's a competitive landscape, and creativity is often something that does not come from a textbook model, right? So there's a lot of creativity involved. And the final thing I want to say about strategy, and COVID has really, I think, emphasized this, is you always need to have a strategy, right? If you don't have a strategy, you should, right? But and you should stick to it as much as it makes sense. But it's often wise to know when to ditch your strategy and rethink. If you're doing it too often, your strategy is probably wrong. But things happen. I'll give you an example. Over the weekend, I went to climb and ski the North Couloir of Mount McGowan. It's a classic ski descent with a extremely experienced partner who's a better skier than I am, and we got up fairly close to the top, and we both wanted to finish it, but we were very concerned. Sort of, we were hit unexpectedly. The snow pack was much warmer and much less dense than we'd hoped, and so we decided to turn around. So our strategy, had been to get to the top, but we had built in that we turn down and come back another day, right? So we could have had a very bad result had we pressed on with our strategy and the related tactics. So sometimes it's good, but on the other hand, if you just sit in your car and never, or sit in your house watching Netflix or whatever, it's hard to actually execute the strategy. So part of, as something creative, it's also an art, right? And you want to think about how to do that. And then with market entry, as I said, a lot of the consulting I've done is about market entry, and I'm continuing to do this for the college, for example, thinking about how we expand. There's another good article that came up today talking about foreign direct investment, which is one form. It's sort of the most committed form of market entry, in which you actually go and build a factory and operations, retail, whatever, in a foreign country. But they point out that COVID has had a profound effect on this, because it's not like investing in shares in a company. You really want to go over there and get to know the people. So there's a predicted slowdown in foreign direct investment. So this is an example of how these sort of outlier events can impact global strategy and then go and impact tactics. So that's all I've got for this week, and I look forward to your posts. And once again, if you have any questions, make sure you CC myself, Anna, and Annabelle. And when you communicate on your group presentations, please make sure that you include all of your group members. I assume many of you will be communicating via email, but that's something you want to establish as a group. So have a great week. It looks like it's going to be a hot one, and look forward to your work.